Good morning. Saturday, the 14th of January, 2023. God has changed up the weather a little bit on us, and it is getting cold again out there. It is not getting cold, it is cold. The wind is blowing and the temperature is cold. Temperature wouldn't be so bad if the wind wasn't blowing, but it is very uncomfortable outside for the people that aren't used to it, like we Southerners. I don't guess it's probably around 40, I guess, out there, but the wind is blowing, and so I didn't feel like standing out there, and besides that, the wind messes up the microphone on the channel. We're in the greenhouse. The greenhouse is a wonderful thing. It's a good place to go. Now see, our house does not have central heating and air. We just pretty much do with space heaters and blankets and good pajamas and stuff like that. But it was cold in there this morning. So I said, I don't want to go out there and stand in the wind and make a video and have the microphone of the camera mess up. So Debbie said, hey, why don't we go in the greenhouse? So here we are in the greenhouse with olive oil. Not going to shoot today. I don't really need to shoot today. I actually hurt my wrist a little bit with the hand that I hold the bow with. It's not too bad. It's a lot better than it was yesterday. It was very delicate yesterday, but I think that came from my new method of the way I'm pulling and the floating draw, and I also pull it further that way, and I think that extra strain just tore down the ligament just a little bit, and it will build up. So I'm glad that I'm not shooting today. I need to rest. What I'm going to talk about this morning is the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. All right, this is something that Yeshua, Jesus, said, speaking to those that he was sending out to declare his name before men. He said, the harvest is great, but the laborers are few. So we who are attempting to harvest, that is to spread the word, find the lost sheep, catch the fish, can be assured that there are lots of people out there who need to hear what we're saying. So when we get discouraged, we can remember that, hey, you know, lots of the people out there are needing to hear what we're saying. Now, I wanted to talk about a principle that is similar to that. I want to talk about the Battle of Agincourt. The Battle of Agincourt was immortalized by William Shakespeare in his play Henry V. It's been made into several movies. I highly recommend you watch that. The Battle of Agincourt was the last large-scale longbow battle in the history of the world. Now, they had longbow battles after that, but this was kind of like the culmination of the longbow technology. The crossbow had been invented. Firearms were definitely around and were beginning to come into prominence. And cannon. I'll tell you when it was. The Battle of Agincourt was October 25th, 14 15. And I say they had firearms because they had firearms back in before the time of Christ in China, and they had cannon. I mean, it was invented a long time ago, so, but it wasn't in widespread use in Europe at that time. All right, I'm not here to tell you about the Battle of Agincourt, although it's a very fascinating story. It was the longbowmen against the knights in armor from France. The noble knights, they had all kinds of armor and horses and all that sort of thing. And the British under Henry V were largely on foot, and they were bowmen, longbowmen. The British won. They made a stunning victory over these knights in armor. Okay, so how does that have to do with the harvest is great, but the laborers are few? Now, in the Battle of Agincourt, a very small force of archers destroyed the might of the French nobility, who were mounted on horses and should have trampled all over them and defeated them. With the harvest, the laborers being few, I liken to the English longbowmen. There weren't that many of them, and the other side, the French side, was way outnumbered them. But there was another thing that, if you watch the movie, you'll see that Henry V, that was the king, made a famous speech or harangue before his men. The generals, the king talked to his men before the battle started and tried to encourage them and make them understand why they were fighting, and, you know, get them, buck them up where they wouldn't turn around and run. And one of the things that he said was that you few men, if you survive this, later on in your life when you're older, are going to be able to sit around the town square on this day, which was the day that they fought, was a holiday called St. Crispin's Day. And you're going to be able to bare your arm and show, this is the scar that I got at the Battle of Agincourt. And he said this: the fewer men, the greater the glory. So if the English had overwhelmed them in numbers and won the battle, that wouldn't have been that big a deal. But the fewer there are, the greater the glory. So I think that goes along with what Yeshua said. The laborers are few, but the harvest is great. So the fewer there are of us, the greater the glory will be when we do receive our reward. Because the laborers were few. Now, watch that movie. There's several of them. There's some that were made in the, I guess, the 40s, the 50s, and there's several new versions of it. Or if you like to read Shakespeare, read it. Now that language that Shakespeare used is a little tricky, you know, and you have to, you know, really work at it to get what he was saying. But what I want to talk about, I did want to talk about that, but I want to talk about that we can't expect everything to go our way all the time. You know, the videos that I made recently talk about being happy, talk about being content, even though things aren't going our way. Things don't go our way in the flesh. If you have a farm, sometimes you're going to have crops that don't do well. You're not going to get rain when you would like to have it. If you have livestock, you're going to lose some of that livestock. And you don't like it. You say you have a cow that you have out there and she up and dies. Well, that's the way it is with livestock. And you don't like it. And you wonder, God, why are you doing this? Why are you letting this happen? Well, he never said that we weren't going to have trials. All right, you're going to have trials in the flesh. But you don't say, you're tempted to say, I wonder if there's a God. Is he really in charge of everything? Why is he letting me have this problem? I love God, and I'm told that he loves me, but why is he letting this happen to me? And you have to stop and think, wait a minute now, God does love me. He never said that everything was going to go my way all the time. He never said that at all. Now, let's think about, since we don't know what God is up to, look, we don't know what God is up to other than that he's good and that he's got our best interest at heart. God has his reasons, which we are not privy to. He doesn't have to tell us everything he's doing. It may be such a convoluted thing that we have no idea. Somebody's car breaks down. Let's just say their car breaks down. Why in the world would God allow that to happen to a believer, somebody that loves God? Well, how do we know that he did that to keep them from driving out in the road and getting killed in a wreck? We don't know. Now, we have no idea, but I do believe everything is connected. So, our answer to these things that happen to us is everything is for the good, even though we can't see it. Or everything is as it should be. Every one of you that's listening to me today is going to have some stuff go wrong. And you're going to be faced with that, and your immediate response is to be sad about it. And the reason I know that is because I'm the same way. Oh, this is not what I wanted. Well, I didn't want it to get cold here where I couldn't go outside and shoot my bow and enjoy the too doggone cold out there for me to have fun outside. I'll go out there when I have to. But otherwise, I'm going to try to be in a warm place and a nice environment here. We shouldn't lose heart because of that, because we don't know what's happening. Why would we lose heart when we aren't really privileged to know everything God's doing? Or, as they say in some businesses, we're only told on a need-to-know basis. God just tells us what we need to know. That's all. He gives us instructions. Go out and declare my name before men. And that's it. I have mentioned this before. I look at YouTube and I see people out there doing a similar thing that I'm doing, and I see that they get 407,000 views 10 hours after they put a video up that's dealing with the same subject that I am. I have no idea how that happens, but I tend to get discouraged if I don't pay attention to the teaching. I don't know what he's doing or why he's doing it. I am not, all I have is a need-to-know basis. He said, go out and do it, and I'm going out and doing it. I can't see any difference between the videos myself, the quality of it, or maybe even the message. but that's the way it shakes out. So what I'm telling you is this. I'm using my own life to help you understand when things go wrong, you do not need to lose your faith. You do not need to lose your happiness. You do not need to lose your contentment. Everything is as it should be. You don't know what's going on, so it's absurd for you to get upset with a God that's doing something that you don't know. You don't know what he's doing. How can you possibly get upset with it? He's got his reasons because he's God, and he's a good God. God is good. There's none good but God. All right. So I guess I'm saying this because my wrist got hurt, the weather got cold, everything's not going my way. Exactly. I'm not in real bad things happening, but some bad things are going to happen. I can tell you that right now. It's going to happen. There's going to be a day when you're going to be saying, I'm not having a good time. It's not about having a good time. That's all fleshly stuff. It's about being sure that God loves you and that what he's allowing you to go through is going to be for the best. You see, he's got a problem. He made us, and he made us with free will. And when God gave us free will, he knew good and well that we were going to take that free will. Free will, in a sense, is almost a godly attribute. That means we can resist his will. Well, God gave us the rules, the moral rules, not because he didn't want us to have a good party time. He gave us the moral rules because those rules are good rules and they are the best things for people to do. We think with our free will, oh, I want to do that. I want more of this. I want more of that. I want that person over there. I want that person. I want that house. I want all of these things. Maybe you can't afford it. Our free will gets us in trouble. But he gave us that free will. He had to devise a way to try to get us to voluntarily come to him. Now, I'm in deep waters right now talking about how God gets us to come to him, and I'm over my head right now. I'm over my head talking about that. Because to be honest, I have no idea how he gets us to come to him. I really don't know. That's something that is beyond, I don't have the knowledge of that. He didn't give me that. He just wants people to come, and they do. Some do and some don't. But what I am sure about is, from reading the Bible, he said to the believers, declare my name before men. And I know that there are not that many people that do it. There's a lot of believers, but not that many of them get out there and make an effort to declare his name before men. It's not that easy. The wounds that they received at the Battle of Agincourt, we receive wounds also. The wounds that we receive from declaring his name are, we appear to be a fool to people. We have doubts as to whether we're doing the right thing. Those are wounds, emotional wounds. But there will be a time when we will bare our arm and show the wounds that we received in our effort to declare his name before men. So be glad that you are among the few that are out there trying to do it. And the people that are out there listening to me, I've had comments. People are saying, yeah, I wish I've been thinking about this and I wish I could do that. What's keeping you from doing it? Same thing that kept me doing it. The same thing that kept me almost from doing it today. Because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I will appear to be a fool. I'm afraid that I won't have anything to say. I'm afraid nobody's going to listen to me. I'm afraid. Well, those guys at that Battle of Agincourt, they were afraid too. That was a horrific thing. Not only, and I told you I wasn't going to tell you about that battle, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Not only were those English longbowmen outnumbered and actually outgunned because the other side had weapons like crossbows, horses, they were also sick. They were sick with dysentery. Dysentery, that's diarrhea. They were in a foreign land and they had not very good provisions and they were sick. I read an account of that one time, that whenever the battle came upon them, that they were being charged by this cavalry charge, and they were having to use the bathroom. They were having diarrhea so bad in there that they finally were ordered to just take their pants off and fight naked from the waist down and just have their shirts on, because they had to go and they just couldn't. If they were to try to do all that, they were going to end up losing the battle. So they were really in a dire situation. Now, they didn't show that on the movie, you know, but that is one of the facts about the Battle of Agincourt, that how sorely distressed they were. But they won the battle. Okay, so I guess I'm thinking that we're in a battle like that. You know, we're overwhelmed, and we are outnumbered, and the population in general does not respect us for what we're doing. And so, but we battle on with the knowledge that in the end, in the next life, we are going to be rewarded for our effort. And God knows how many people will know then that'll come up and they'll say, you know, I heard you, and I decided that I would go with Jesus. I was wavering on it. I didn't know what to think about it. But I wanted to be in that group of people. There's going to be people that are going to tell me, I'm thinking, you know, I wanted to say something about Yeshua, Jesus, but I was afraid to do it. I was afraid that people were going to mock me. I was afraid I wasn't going to be thought well of. Think about what they did to Christ himself. He wasn't thought well of by everybody. The majority didn't think enough of him. They killed him. They mocked him. They stripped him and beat him to within an inch of his life, and then they killed him. So I don't think that we're going to have all that done to us, but it is possible. All right, I guess I've run my mouth long enough. This is Gardner Israel signing off.